I'm Verionica Fiorato. I'm the Partnership Manager for the Lake District National Park Partnership, and obviously here to talk to you about how we've used gamification in the park. Just to introduce the partnership very quickly, we have 24 brilliant partners from all across all sorts of different organisations. We have government organisations, local charities, business representatives, community representatives, and we're all working together as a partnership for the Lake District National Park. And that's really important in terms of how we develop our strategies for managing the national park, that we already have buy-in from quite a lot of key partners. Why a partnership with the park? I'm not going to do a hard sell. Hopefully you know that the Lake District National Park is brilliant, but the point I wanted to make is that it's actually a really, really complex place. So when we are trying to think about the management of the park, there are a huge range of issues that we have to try and encapsulate in any management plan. And perhaps important to think about as well the fact that it's an enormously large national park, the biggest in England. It's also the biggest World Heritage Site in England. So pretty much every difficulty you can think that a national park or a World Heritage Site might have to deal with, we have to think about for our management of the park. The partnership together comes together to prepare a management plan for the park. We call it the Partnership Plan because we're doing it in partnership. And this is the piece of work that we've used the game for recently to try and get views on how people perceive the future of their national park, whether they live in it or they come visit and they love it. So it's trying to bring together all of those very complex issues that I've alluded to. And at the moment, we have a current plan which is about to run out. And so we are beavering away like fury to try and create the new one. And that will run for 5 years once we have it adopted and agreed. So we started talking to Agnesa and the team end of last year, wasn't it, I think? Because, as Agnesa's already referred to, we had already used the gamification approach to explore issues around sustainable travel and transport. Now, this was all before my time, so I'm really pleased, Agnesa, that you gave a little introduction to how that worked for the Lake District and showed some of the cards from that. But we started to then have conversations thinking, can we take that Otter Power game concept further and actually use it to help us to develop this very, very complex partnership plan for the whole park. In parallel, we had a really brilliant partnership meeting back in July last year, and we focused deliberately on youth voice at that point. This was a group of people that we knew we didn't normally hear from, as Jeff had alluded to, difficult to engage with young people in something like this. So the partnership decided it would really like to target young people as the future guardians of the park and get their views. So that was where we started to think this game would be a really good way to engage with young people and hear from them. We started doing some thinking around what our plan priorities might be, and we used the game's goals to flesh out what those could look like. So you'll see on the slide on the left, hopefully you can read that, just some of our headlines of what those kind of goals for the plan might be. So we thought we'd use the game to test that thinking with our target audience. So we went into schools, and this is the first time I've done this, and what an interesting experience it was. We went to 2 out of our 3 secondary schools in the Lake District. Sadly, we couldn't make the dates align with the 3rd, but hopefully we'll get to them later. More on that in due course. 150 pupils. It's a lot of people across 6 classes. And when in discussion with the schools, we knew what the age group was that we'd be working with, so that kind of 11 to 14, GCSE type age group. I was slightly trepidatious, to be quite honest, about how the kids would respond to the game and whether they'd sort of, want to sort of sit in the corner and sulk and not engage and think it was boring. I was so wrong, so wrong. We also had hugely important teacher positivity about this. They could see that this was something that their classes were likely to be very interested in and engage with. And there were also some very complex concepts in the game, and I was a bit concerned whether the pupils would be able to sort of understand and have those conversations in a meaningful way. Again, I underestimated them, so that's on me, really, that's my bad. But if they didn't understand something, they were very happy to ask, and that was another good part of the learning process as part of the conversations and the game. But they were so passionate about things, for instance, like the impacts of climate change, that the game worked really well in drawing out those conversations. As you can see, very thoughtful, positive engagement and competitive. And I quite like this about the game, that from the gameplay that we've done so far, people do get very passionate about their interests, and they're kind of trying to push their point across. And it leads to very, very interesting conversations. We did a sort of straw poll in each of the classes about what they felt about the experience, and I'd say overwhelmingly positive. Agnesa was there helping us to facilitate, but I didn't get any feedback that was negative from any of those classes, which I think is just amazing. And then we use the outputs from those conversations to further inform our plan drafting and development. We then thought, well, let's play it with a different age group. So we decided to play it with our partners. Yeah, Adam, you're there in the shot, helping us there with the game. So these are our representatives of those 24 partner organisations that I referred to earlier, about 30 people this time, clearly very different age group, working age or retirees. But partners were so interested to try a new way of looking at a very complex plan. Again, very animated, very passionate conversations. People I thought wouldn't be competitive were like, very competitive, you must listen to me, my policy is most important. So really, really good conversations, and again, hugely high scores for enjoyment. And so again, we took those outputs and we put it into the draft and we refined the drafting. We're still kind of in a work in progress with this. So we played some of those games in sort of May through to July. We're still looking at the kind of analysis of those transcripts now. But we did also look at the kind of the results of the game. And I know others have said, rightly, that it's not just about the end result of the game, it's about the conversation. But we did want to use the results to just check our thinking that where we thought we needed to focus on nature's recovery and climate action as two kind of key tenets of the plan were right. And all of this audience participation suggests that that is the case. So as you can see, for the school children, those were the top two. And for our partner reps, they were joint second. So that was also quite interesting, just in kind of affirming what we thought, but from quite a wide audience group. So what we're going to do now, well, as I say, we're still in the throes of this. So literally last night, I was working on a new iteration of the game. So we had that kind of early thinking, we tested it, we've refined the draft, and now we've got another game that we're going to use through our public consultation on the plan. So we want to continue to target young people, including John Ruskin School, which is a secondary school that we didn't get to in the first round, but also some other target groups. The first time we're going to use a second game is with a staff event on the 6th of November. And in that case, it's less about what do the staff think, but it's more about socialising the concepts of the draft plan with our colleagues so that they can then go out and be advocates for the draft plan in their conversations externally. We're also likely to use it to complement other forms of engagement, and what I think is going to be really interesting is to see how the two compare and contrast. And I think I could guess how they're going to compare and contrast, but let's roll with that and see what happens. So just finally some reflections. It's clearly a massively different way to engage people. And as Jeff has already said, you do get to people that you wouldn't otherwise. Similarly to the Cairngorms, if we run a public consultation, we normally get a kind of retired, middle class, parish councillor or agitator in the community responding. We don't get a breadth. So I really think through this way of consulting, you can get to audiences that you don't otherwise. And it's really fun. As you can see from the feedback we've had from people, they love playing this game. And I don't think that they necessarily, it's not that they don't know that they're being consulted, they're proud to be playing the game and being consulted, but they're not seeing it as a boring old consultation that they don't really want to engage in. It's really fun. The other thing I'd say is that it's very democratic. So the fact that the Otter passes around the table means that everybody at some point has the power. And that I think is really helpful because it draws out people who perhaps would be really reticent to say anything in a public meeting or might be too shy to put their points of view across. The Otter gives them that power and others have to listen. So it does help you to get everybody's voices heard. I think I've covered the other two, so I won't come back to them now, but a better way to consult ? That's partly because we're in the middle of this process, but certainly the results we've had so far do seem to suggest that we are getting better value from these conversations and this gameplay than we would from presenting to a parish meeting of an evening in November or whatever. There are obviously resource implications for it. I suppose the most resource-hungry element is what you do with the transcripts and doing that analysis. So it'll be really interesting to hear about sort of developments in the AI side and how, you know, we might start to think about, I don't know, streamlining, speeding that up so that we get more immediate results back. I don't know how we do that, but that's something to have a conversation with Edinburgh about as we progress. But certainly we've been delighted with the results so far, and it has been hugely fun for us as well, I would say. So yeah, I recommend it to you. I don't know whether you want questions now, but happy to be caught over coffee or have conversations about what we've been doing in the lakes at any point. But thank you very much.